What's up guys, my name's Hugh Miller, and in case you've been living under a rock in the ocean, Her Interactive has pretty much announced that a new game is coming. However, what they haven't announced are dates, titles, storylines, or anything else of the sort. Today I'll be doing a full breakdown of the latest newsletter, which will include connections to other clues that Her Interactive has dropped, as well as several fan theories which could help to try and figure out what this new game might be about. Not everything I say in this video is fact, so please take some of what I say with a grain of salt. I'm going to take you all the way back to 2019 for a second here. At the end of Midnight in Salem, Nancy's on the phone with Ned. She mentions taking a vacation in Austria. While the game had no teaser trailer for the next mystery, many fans took this phone call as a possible hint to where the next game may take place. However, others thought this was just an Easter egg put in by Austria-based game developers MippyMe Games, who did a lot of work on Midnight in Salem. The reason I'm mentioning this is because there are a lot of clues and theories that would point towards Game 34 taking place in Austria, a surrounding location, or elsewhere in Europe. Shortly after midnight Pacific time on April 1st, 2023, also known as April Fool's Day, Her Interactive sent out their official April newsletter, which contained some basic cryptic clues containing info about the next Nancy Drew game. They also completely cleared their Instagram page of all their past posts to make way for some new content. I've seen a few fans mention that this has been done in the past by music artists and bands when they're about to release a new album. The main reason for this is to give fans the chance to only focus on the new stuff rather than being distracted by their old posts. There was a lot of speculation about whether this potential new game announcement was a cruel joke, but the fact that we're now on April 3rd and Her Interactive still hasn't said April Fools makes me think this announcement is very true. Now that everyone's had a few days to sleuth, digest, and evaluate all the information presented, there's a lot happening in this newsletter. Let's start from the very top. For the header of this newsletter, Kalina of Story Retold pointed out that they're using off-brand colors. Normally, we would see a white and burgundy color scheme. However, this time around we have a black and kind of mustard yellow. Kalina suggested that these colors might be a teaser for the box art color scheme. I also saw a fan theory on Reddit by Trust Me, I'm a Linguist, noting the black and yellow colors are the same colors that belong to the Habsburg monarchy in Austria. If this theory is correct, that could mean that Her is hinting at Austria being the next game's location. Or perhaps one of the locations. Scrolling down a bit further, we have our first interesting image. The text reads, "April is fan month. Nancy Drew turns 93, which isn't anything special. However, I still believe the background has some significance. The more I look at it, the more I think it's a screenshot of a CG or computer graphics floor. The way the light is hitting the tiles in the top right of the image is one of my main reasonings for this belief. The only thing I don't know is where this floor is supposed to be. Thinking about the design of the floor and the level of texture detail on the tiles makes me think this is inside of a church, cathedral, or some other kind of grand building with Renaissance architecture styling. A Reddit theory by Sis Nerdly suggests that this floor could be from inside a CG version of St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna. If we compare the tiles in this image to the floor tiles of the real cathedral, they contain very similar colors. The argument could be made that the tiles in the newsletter image are more of a tan and green, but that could be said about the real cathedral's tiles if the lighting's right. The next section once again mentions that Nancy's turning 93 on April 28th. The really interesting thing here is which alphabetical, numerical, and punctuation characters are highlighted. Happy Birthday Nancy is obviously colored as such because it's the title text of the section. However, in the body text, we have 93 and April 28 with a comma all highlighted. I find this really interesting because if you do a bit of rearranging, you'll notice that this could say April 28th, 93, as in April 28th, 1993. This might be a bit of a stretch, but the really cool thing about this date is that while it's not exact, it is indeed close to the date that Nancy Drew number 112, Crime in the Queen's Court, released. The book was initially released on April 1st, 1993, and is part of the Nancy Drew Digest book series. According to Kalina of Story Retold, the book that Nancy Drew 34 is loosely based off of is from this series. My friend Anne on Instagram reached out to me and many others with a fantastic theory that this could be the book that Nancy Drew 34 is based on. To further delve into this theory, I'm going to have to go over the next section of the newsletter, so bear with me until I return to it. After this little birthday announcement, we have a section about Her Interactive's merch. At first glance, this doesn't appear to offer much that could be useful. However, if you look a bit closer, you'll notice a couple stars beside some specific products. While the jackets in the center are certainly new physical products, the starred products have brand new product designs. I want to give a huge shout out to Gooba and Jetpack for notifying me of this next discovery. When we open the product pages for those new items, the biggest clue is in the descriptions. The Captive Curse DVD wrap product description reads, "Inspired by the resident castle trickster who loves April Fool's Day as much as us." In my eyes, I see that as a clear sign that April Fool's Day was intended to be a special day for Her Interactive, and indeed it was. The next product, simply titled Moo, features a back and forth between Nancy and Lucas where Nancy makes a comment about Hamlet. This once again lines up with Anne's theory that I want to bring up. Crime in the Queen's Court revolves around an Elizabethan festival that has come to River Heights. Nancy joined the festival as a lady to the Queen's Court. There's music, dancing, costumes, feasts, and performances that all relate to the Elizabethan era. In this book, the Queen and the entire festival are targeted for sabotage. This theory once again points in the direction of cathedrals and the Renaissance era. The next 3 images in this newsletter revolve around a set of trivia questions that the Her Interactive team put together. There are 7 questions in total, which could point towards Mystery of the 7 Keys. Each question and answer section contains at least 1 highlighted letter. When you put the highlighted letters together, they read 34, which is a clue to the next game in the series being the 34th mystery. At this point in time, I'm still unsure if the actual questions and answers themselves have anything to do with the next game. The next thing I want to look at with these images are the backgrounds. Once again, I'm pretty sure all of these images contain CG screenshots of a floor, a cathedral, and a wall. These floor tiles could be from anywhere, as their design and layout could easily be seen in a town square, a building lobby, or perhaps a store or a shop. But the fact that these tiles look like they've got substance and possibly weight could signify that they're in a building that could afford to have tiles like this put in. The next image very clearly looks like a blurred picture of the sky with a castle or a cathedral in the bottom right. I had a thought which could be a stretch, but this could also be a reflection of a building in water, but I would be surprised if that were the case. The final image shows a wall section with some more tiles. Notice how often tiles keep appearing in these images. The wall section could be from an interior or exterior of a building that has some sense of business, class, or sophistication. The next section still seems like it's not yet been fully solved, in my opinion. We have a picture of a folded note with some text and graphics. On the left, the text reads, "It's your day," with an emphasis on the word your. Including punctuation, there are 11 characters and 2 underlines under your. There's also a cup with a hot beverage inside, most likely tea or coffee. On the right side of the page, we have what seems like sun rays, 9 sun rays at that, on the top with the text, Saturday, April 1st, morning underneath it. There's 23 characters in those lines of text. There's also a small camera icon. Whether or not the number of characters and letters and lines on this image has to do with anything, I'm not too sure, but it's just something to take note of just in case. When you click on this image, it takes you to Her Interactive's Instagram page. On the morning of April 1st, Her Interactive released a short clip, which I will cover in another video. Another really interesting aspect to this picture is the sunset or sunrise image used for the background. In the bottom left, it looks like there is a treetop or a top of a church or cathedral, and in the bottom right, there's the peak of a building. The bottom right is also where the light source is coming from. Something my friend Salad pointed out during my live stream the other day is that this background image is also used in the story icon on their Instagram page. In this version of the image, there's also a magnifying glass on top of a question mark. The final important image in the newsletter is a letter from Nancy to the fans. It reads, "Dear fellow sleuths, my birthday's coming up this month and I've been thinking real hard about something I could give you to thank you for coming along on every case. I have been told that I'm not the best gift giver, but I figured I could let you in on a little secret. I'm picking up my magnifying glass again and already packing my bags. Join me on my next great mystery. Be on the lookout for our case file. I can't wait. Love, Nancy." The first thing you'll notice is that this note was written on Nancy's stationery that was used up until the deadly device when it changed. However, the typeface for Nancy Drew at the top of the page is different from the original typeface. Nancy's handwriting typeface is also different. Kalina of Story Retold suggested that this may have been a stock typeface used in Canva and may not be a final typeface. I did a bit of research into it and found the typeface that was used. I kid you not, the typeface is called Drew Handwriting. How cool is that? I also saw some people mention that the letter F is spaced weirdly in the text. That's just simply because of the way the typeface functions. To show what I mean, this is what happens when you type the word magnifying glass normally in Photoshop using this typeface. To fix this gap, all you need to do is adjust the kerning or tracking. The image used for the background is of Nancy's desk, which hasn't been used in-game since 2015 in Sea of Darkness. However, this specific background render was only used in 2 places. The lighting is slightly different in this render than in those used in Alibi and Ashes, The Shattered Medallion, and Sea of Darkness. I've pulled every render of this version of Nancy's desk from the game files and only one of them matched. The Silent Spy was the only game to use this render of her desk. Otherwise, the only time we ever saw a render of Nancy's desk with this lighting angle was a wallpaper render that Her Interactive released on their website under the Alibi and Ashes game page. Finally, when looking really closely at the text on the note, you'll see that some letters are highlighted in burgundy. It's quite difficult to see, but the letters that are visible spell out, "You've been hacked." My guess is that this might have a double meaning. Initially, I assumed that it may point to why Her Interactive cleared all their Instagram posts, to make it look like they've been hacked when they actually haven't been. Another meaning it could have would be to a theme pertaining to the next game. Kalina of Story Retold mentioned that the theme of hacking is something to remember going forward. When I personally hear the word hack or hacking, I think of computer hacking right away. The word can actually have several meanings depending on how it's used. It could mean computer hacking, it could mean cutting, it could be used informally, it could be used to describe a writer who produces boring pieces of work. There's so many meanings, but all of them may be useful to keep in mind going forward. It's hard to say, but I'm sure we'll find out. The bottom of the newsletter has a couple things going on, but nothing I found too extraordinary. They mention not missing another social post because we, as fans, will never know when or what they'll post next. There's also some hidden text. The text can be highlighted with your mouse to reveal the words "hidden clues are the key." I noticed that each word is capitalized, which is interesting. However, when you take the capital letters and rearrange them, they only make one real word: thack. A thack is a weatherproof outer layer of a roof, also known as a thatch. Again, probably doesn't mean anything, but I thought I'd look into it regardless. The message itself, in my opinion, is Her Interactive's way of telling us that there are hidden clues in the newsletter, and most likely elsewhere, but we'll get onto that later, that are the keys to figuring out what they're trying to say about the new game. And last but not least, the trivia answer at the bottom is simply the detective emoji. I figure that it's just Her Interactive saying that the trivia question answers may not matter too much compared to the clues hidden within. And that's about it for the newsletter. I'll be making a video very soon covering the announcement made on March 28th telling people to subscribe to the newsletter because there's some really awesome tidbits in there to explore. What do you think of all this so far? What are your thoughts on what Her Interactive has revealed? Did I miss anything you feel I should have mentioned? Let me know in the comments below and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day.